Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic? Let's do it. What's the scariest thing that's ever woken you up in the middle of the night? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I kinda did this to myself. My SO was out of town. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was the first time I'd ever been alone in a house overnight. So of course, I spent the whole day reading detailed descriptions of the Golden State Killer's crimes, which are the stuff of horror movie nightmares. Then it got dark, and I became very aware that one of the windows in my bedroom had a broken lock. Spent 30 minutes panicking before falling asleep. Then I woke up to a slow, rhythmic tapping on that window. Sat up frozen in fear. Then the tapping got faster, still frozen. Then the tapping suddenly stopped. I was frozen for 30-ish more seconds, then slowly walked over and discovered a huge bug had been running into glass. I couldn't fall asleep again at night until my SO came back. A woman who ran into our home at 2 a.m. barefoot with a newborn baby in her arms. I forgot to lock the door before bed. It turns out the baby was her niece, and the woman herself was the sister of our next-door neighbor. The woman claimed that her sister, the baby's mother, had attacked her, and that she herself had run away and taken the baby to protect her. We called the Gardaí, Irish Police Services, who came and sorted everything out. But waking up to a strange woman screaming, help me," and a crying baby in her arms was pretty damn frightening. When I was about 10, I had this battery-operated toy jet fighter that made a bunch of noises. It had different buttons that would make different sounds. One day I had played with it outside, and then it rained, so water got into the circuits. I brought it inside and put it in my toy box. Well, that night, while I was sleeping, it started to short circuit and started making awful, loud noises that sounded like a combination of a dying cat and a screaming baby. I woke up terrified and thought a demon was in my room. My mom came running in and realized what it was. We took the batteries out, and she threw them away. I still vividly remember this, and it's the scariest thing that's woken me up. Sleeping in a cabin in the woods, I had been warned that there were bears around. Around 2 a.m. I heard knocking on the roof, followed by scrabbling sounds down the roof and off the side, and my sleepy brain decided that, OMG, a bear is trying to break in. I spent the rest of the night huddled under the blanket with a log from the fire, ready to fend off bears. In the morning, I realized that the cabin was right under a pine tree, and the scrabbling sound was pine cones falling off the tree and rolling down the roof. I'll never know what actually woke me up. I just woke with a start, sat bolt upright, and immediately felt I had to check on my 6-month-old daughter for no reason at all. When I got in the room, she had rolled onto her stomach and couldn't breathe. She wasn't making any noise, wasn't thrashing or anything. She was just lying there, and I couldn't see her chest moving. When I flipped her over, she immediately started breathing again, but she was blue, and she began crying hysterically after about 30 seconds of breathing normally. I don't put a lot of stock in maternal instinct or mother knows best or anything like that, but that was one of the scariest moments of my life. And almost 3 years later, I still don't know what woke me up. Having sleep paralysis and then wondering, is anyone in the room? Usually I'm fine when I get it because it's a common occurrence for me. But I've never seen a demon or ghost or anything like other people do. It's just annoying. But one night it lasted a bit longer than usual. I then thought to myself, other people see things when they get sleep paralysis. Is there anything in the room right now? All of a sudden, I got hit with an impending sense of doom. I had never felt such anxiety in my life. I felt a presence, and that presence was close by. I finally woke up, but I definitely didn't go back to sleep in fear of that happening again. Loosely related story time. One time I went camping with my family, wife, and 2 small kids. At the time, digital cameras were kind of a new thing, and we had one along with us. This was a hike in the backcountry camping. Not really hardcore. It was only a few miles from the parking lot, but just explaining the situation. We set up, do dinner, etc. then string our food in a bag up a bear pole. If you aren't aware, a bear pole is a tall pole, in this case metal, with another long stick, again metal, to use to hang your food from. Bears can't get to it, and they'll probably leave you alone too. Anywho, food is hung up. I'm snuggled in with my family and go to sleep. Next thing I know, I'm woken up by a thunderstorm. Normally, I would think that was pretty cool. I like storms. But it suddenly occurred to me that I think I put the camera in the not waterproof all food bag. I search around the tent a bit, trying not to wake anyone, and I can't find it. So I go out into the storm. It's pitch black outside. Great movie, by the way. I didn't have my glasses on either, and the only light I get to see at the end of the pole to hook the food bag happens to be from lightning. Well, after about 3 lightning strikes, I finally hooked it. I get the bag down and do a quick search in the dark, but I don't find the camera. At this point I think, screw it, and I just put the food bag outside, but under the canopy of the tent. Oof. I try to go back to bed, but the storm has more or less stopped, and now all I hear is what could be rain dripping from tree leaves, or it could be footsteps of animals. I just laid there stressed for the rest of the night. No bear ever came. Camera was in the tent the whole time. My cat is screaming her head off. It was about 5 a.m., and I just heard my cat meowing the loudest I've ever heard her meow. I jumped up out of bed and was thinking something happened to her. So I went running downstairs, only to see her looking out the window by the front door, still meowing loudly. I turned the porch light on and saw another cat on the porch looking in at my cat. At the time, my cat was 4 years old and was probably the first time she's seen another cat invading her territory. A few other cats have occasionally visited our front porch since then, and she always gets rather excited about it. But it hasn't been to that level anymore. I usually just hear her huffing really loudly at the other cat. I was home alone and very pregnant. My husband was out of town, so it was just me and my dog. Around 2 a.m., I woke up because my dog was growling. So I'm scared, but not too scared, until I heard the very clear sound of glass breaking, which made my dog go absolutely apeshit. He was not small. He was a great peer. So I grabbed the gun and called my dad. We live out in the country, but my parents live only a mile away. In emergencies, Dad can be here in 5, but the police are a 30-minute wait. I called my dad, so I'm hiding in my bedroom, using the bed to hide while I've got a rifle pointed at the door and a huge dog just pacing between me and the door, growling like a maniac waiting for my dad. Dad pulls up and calls me, so I open the bedroom and follow my dog up to the front door to let my dad in. We checked the whole house. Turns out a light bulb in the bathroom exploded. I was so damn scared and 8 months pregnant and almost had a heart attack over a light bulb. Dad changed the bulb for me though, so that's nice. Last year I'm sleeping cozily with my wife in our bedroom upstairs that has glass French doors that open to a balcony with an external staircase going down to my driveway. In the middle of the dark night, the motion-sensing light at the top of the outside stairs goes on and wakes my wife. She shakes me, and I say, "Don't worry, it's probably just the wind or a raccoon." 5 seconds later, my wife makes a whimper sound of terror and shrieks, "There is somebody there." Sure enough, right outside the glass doors on my balcony, there's a dark figure around 12 feet away from us. Before I can think, my dad reflexes take control in order to save the life of my family. I leapt out of bed, totally naked as always, and yelled, "Jesus Christ!" to the glass. A young man is slipping and sliding on the icy balcony, setting down a package. He averts his eyes and exclaims, "Sorry," and he leaves. In front of my door is my wife's box of fancy lunch and breakfast that she orders. They're supposed to leave it at your front door, but for some reason, this nitwit didn't see our door, and he only found our balcony steps. I think I scared him even more than he scared me. I don't think anybody would fault you for that, and better safe than sorry, and calling your dad was probably the right choice, considering the time. So, and you got a light bulb change, so good for you. My wife woke me up saying someone was in the house. I told her she was dreaming. She said they were just in our room looking in her dresser drawers. She sat up, saw them, laid back down, and pretended to sleep till he left the room. I told her again she must have been dreaming. She told me to call 911, then jumped over me, shut the bedroom door, and propped something against it. We called 911, and about 8 cop cars showed up very quickly. The 911 operator told her to have me go to the front door to let the police in. Now, I had to walk through my living room knowing someone was or had just been in the house minutes before. They ended up finding the teenager upstairs laying on a guest bed. He claimed he had the wrong house, but he had come in through a back window, taken off his shoes, and laid out a sheet in the living room. They walked him out in handcuffs. Waking up in the middle of the night after having a grand mal seizure is pretty effing scary. Notice the urine, vomit, and blood in your bed, and have no idea what's going on until your brain turns back on all the way and you can actually start processing what's actually going on around. I've had a lifetime of scar experiences, but nothing quite matches the moment when you realize that you're alive and waking up by complete chance. And if the coin had flipped the other way, I could have just as easily choked to death on my own tongue or vomit and not even been aware it was happening. And no one else would even know you're dead until someone notices you're missing and goes to your house to make sure you're okay. I've had 4 seizures like this in the middle of the night in the last 4 months. It's the scariest thing I've ever experienced. I have 2. One is short, a pain in my triceps. I tried going back to sleep, but the pain was rather intense. After realizing it wasn't in my head or minor, I turned the sheets and finally found the culprit. A millipede had crawled into my apartment, into my bed, and stung me. This was on Maui. I was told they have been known to be fatal. Spoiler, I survived. The second was in a totally different environment, a high-security apartment building downtown in a major California city. At 3 a.m., someone simply walks right into the apartment. We rarely locked the door because of how tight the security in the building was. The woman who came in was like a zombie, blathering about Jeremy and how she doesn't feel great, etc. She was clearly tripping balls on something I've never been privy to. Roofies? I launched out of bed and started wailing on her with a pillow. Not sure why I chose that weapon. She's lucky, I guess. Even after getting pillow effed for 45 seconds, she still didn't realize she was in the wrong apartment. Jeremy, stop it. I eventually walked her to the elevator, pushed her in, and pushed buttons to other floors. I once had an apartment in a pretty bad neighborhood in Tucson. This was in 2001 or 2002. I'm kinda hazy on the exact time. I got woken up on the regular to noises outside. I was also the only guy in my building who paid for cable, and the box was right outside my window. I heard them breaking in to splice it more than once. I didn't give a shit about that until they literally just disconnected my cable to connect a second apartment up. Well, the thing that finally made me move on was that I heard noises outside my window and a guy was trying to open it. He had a mask in his hand and a pry bar. I open the blinds. I'm looking right at him. For like a full minute, he doesn't even notice. I walk over to my shelf, grab this shitty replica Highlander sword. I admit it. I was a dumb 20-year-old who bought stupid things. I stand there staring at him with it in my hand. That doesn't do anything. So I grabbed the Jason Voorhees hockey mask I had and put it on, then tapped the window with the sword to get his attention. This motherfucker looks up and falls backward scared. Half crawl runs, then hits his head on the steps to the upstairs apartment and falls down unconscious. I call the cops and tell them some guy's attempting to break into my apartment. Then I go grab one of my kitchen chairs, put it on top of him, and sit on it with my feet in the middle of his arms, not putting pressure on him, just prepared to if he wakes up and tries to get away. About 15 minutes go by. Dude doesn't stir at all. I start worrying he's actually dead, but I'm too scared to check. I feel like I could hold him down in this position, but I don't want to risk him getting up when I'm not in full control. The cops show up another 5 minutes later, telling me to get on the ground. I comply, but tell them I'm the one that called you. This is the guy who's trying to get into my place. At that point, with all the noise in one of the apartments a few doors down, I see the light click on. The blinds split open, a face in the window, and then a woman comes running out, yelling at us all in broken English to leave him alone, saying he didn't do anything. She runs up to me and starts kicking me while I'm lying on the ground. One of the cops grabs her and cuffs her. They tell me I can get up. They wake him up. Apparently he was very drunk. The couple end up both getting arrested and then deported. The lady left her door open, and the cops looked inside and found a shitload of stuff that had been reported stolen, along with multiple bunk beds. A few other adults ran out of the apartment in different directions. None of them got caught. There were about 6 kids of differing ages and an elderly woman in the apartment as well. Everyone was removed from the apartment, and the police recommended I make every effort to move out ASAP out of fear of retaliation. I talked to the apartment complex. They let me transfer to another complex, and I ended up moving out in less than 24 hours. I came back to clean up a few days later. I'm a get my whole deposit back type of tenant, and the apartment was completely trashed. They stole the appliances out of it and broke the toilet and bathroom sink. They broke the smoke detector and burned a bunch of spots in the carpet, as well as the cabinets. There was a bunch of death threats spray painted on the walls as well. And that's when I realized I was monumental effing moron for sitting out there with the guy till the cops came. If somebody from the apartment had come out or seen me, I'd probably be dead right now.